Find out during the NFL Draft on ABC and ESPN Thursday, April 24th through Saturday, April 26th. Can't wait for the NFL Draft, and that is why NFL insider Jeremy Fowler is here with the files on a Saturday morning. Look, the Giants held that private workout for Shedeur Sanders in Boulder, Colorado on Thursday. What are you hearing about how the workout went?
Yeah, Shay, I was told it went well. I was told the Giants tried to put Sanders in adverse situations that you don't get in a comfortable pro day setting, try to see what he's made of, and that he passed those tests. But the Giants are on a 3-day quarterback cruise right now because they met with Sanders, then Alabama's Jalen Milroe yesterday. Today, Louisville's Tyler Shuck. So they will conduct those workouts and then reconvene just 6 days before the draft. Try to figure out their quarterback plan because they do have one. Even if they don't take one at number 3, they can sort of circle back, right? Maybe Sanders is available at some point in the first round. They could trade back in. You have quarterbacks like Milroe and Shuck that could be available early day 2, maybe even late round 1. And so they're trying to cover every basis. Certainly they've had good feedback on Sanders. I'm told he is in play, but with players like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter potentially available at number 3, could be too hard to pass up on those guys.
The teammate situation, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, where will they go? But the two of them have both been linked to the Browns, ironically. What are you hearing about Cleveland's plan with the number 2 overall pick?
Well, Travis Hunter is definitely a major contention at that pick. I mean, we saw GM Andrew Berry compared him to Shohei Ohtani. He was sort of calling a shot there. That will be a hard player to pass up. Either he's saying that or he's trying to drum up a market for another team to come up and get Hunter at number 2 overall. But it's interesting, Shay, I talked to several teams in the top 10, and they're sort of split. Some of them still believe that Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter will be in play for Cleveland as well because they could pair him with Myles Garrett, and then you could dominate on defense for years to come up front. So the momentum league-wide still seems to be leaning Hunter, but a little bit of Carter there as well. Shedeur Sanders has been under consideration for that pick all along. They have not made it yet. They're going to take this all the way down to Thursday, it appears.
Oh, this is going to get so interesting here. This is the time now. We're starting to hear the rumors, who's going who. We're inching closer and closer. Of course, the NFL Draft starts on Thursday. Jeremy Fowler will
answer. So that's why we bring in our senior NFL writer, Jeremy Fowler, and of course, NFL Draft analyst Matt Miller with us as well. Okay, so Jay Fowler, let me start with you because we know that Sanders had that workout for the Giants in Boulder this past week. What was the lasting impression he left with the G-Men?
So I'm told that process went smoothly, that head coach Brian Daboll likes to put quarterbacks in adverse situations in those settings away from their comfortable pro days, and that he passed those tests. Otherwise, the Giants are keeping everything really tight-lipped, top secret right now. They are on a 3-day quarterback cruise right now because they're also meeting with Louisville's Tyler Shuck today, working him out. Alabama's Jalen Milroe yesterday. So they wanted to get through those 3 sessions, reassess. They've essentially scoured the earth for quarterbacks at this point. But the feeling I get from around the league, talking to GMs in the top 10, they don't necessarily expect the Giants to go Shedeur Sanders at 3. But could they dip back into the first round for a quarterback? Could they go early day 2 for a quarterback? Certainly the expectation is they take one at some point. Meanwhile, if Sanders doesn't go 2 to the Browns or 3 to the Giants, he's in a bit of a precarious spot. Where does he land? Somewhere in the first round, certainly, but the range seems to be a little bit wide.
You know, that's interesting, Matt, because the Giants have 6 additional picks, especially when you're talking about rounds 2 through 3. If they pass on him in the first round, should they trade up, then let's say use some of those picks and get Sanders later in the first round of the draft? What do you think?
Absolutely, they should. I think that is the move. And I think that's why we're seeing them, as Jeremy said, they're on this quarterback tour right now. These are quarterbacks that are expected to go in the early second round. So they are guys that you would like to trade into the late first round to get the 5th-year option on. So I look at that and say, yeah, that is the way to go. If you can walk out of this draft with Abdul Carter, my number 1 overall player at pick number 3, and then you can trade back up into the late first round for Shedeur Sanders, I think that is a huge win for Brian Daboll. It's a huge win for the New York Giants. Now you have that rookie quarterback. You have the quarterback of the future, but there's not as much pressure to play him early on because he's not the number 3 pick. Now he's maybe the 26th or 27th pick. That's a much better situation for everyone involved.
You know, interesting, Jeremy, is that Jackson Dart surprisingly removed his name from the list of attendees now attending the draft. So now all you have is Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe, who will be really the only QBs there in Lambeau for the draft. What are we hearing about Dart and maybe him making it in the first round?
Yeah, Brian, it's funny. I've asked multiple teams, do you expect Jackson Dart to go and say the top 15 picks? And they all say the same thing. I don't expect it, but it wouldn't shock me either. So there is a lot of buzz around him, but where does he land is the issue. New Orleans Saints have done a lot of work on Dart, but picking number 9 would probably be a bit rich. Pittsburgh Steelers, the belief is that they like Jackson Dart as well, but they don't have a second-round pick. So a lot of balls in the air for Dart, but he is well-liked. He's going to go somewhere fairly high. And then you got Jalen Milroe, probably the most polarizing quarterback in the entire draft. High upside. So the expectation with him is that he could slide into the late first, but he's probably more of a day 2 pick at this point. I did speak with his quarterback coach, Jordan Palmer, who said that for the last year they've been working on fluidity of movements, connection to the ground, which he thinks will help his accuracy at the second level. He called him a big-time learner and an overachiever, which is what you want out of a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, what about Dart and Milroe? What do you think would be the biggest teams would fill their needs, you think, with those two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, they're both incredibly talented. They're both able to get things done on the ground and through the air. When I look at Jackson Dart and think about what would be the best fit for him, it is that team we were just talking about, the New York Giants with Brian Daboll, with his ability to move guys around in the pocket. Davis is also a great quarterback developer. His time with Josh Allen, his time at the University of Alabama, he has been able to develop young quarterbacks. So for Jackson Dart, someone who has a ton of tools, I would love to see him with Brian Daboll. I had him going to the Rams in my last mock draft at number 26 overall. And when you think about Jalen Milroe, he's maybe the most electric runner in the entire draft class at any position, but he's going to need time to develop. I like him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would prefer him to go there in round 3. Unfortunately, I don't think he makes it that long for the Steelers. His name is one of the hottest in the league right now, but an offense, again, where he can sit and learn. The potential for him is the highest of any quarterback in this class, but he's going to need time to get some of that work done that Jeremy was mentioning, reworking those mechanics, learning how to be where his feet are a little bit better.
Yeah, by the way, folks, you can read more of Matt and Jordan's rejoined article on
Colorado. Let's go to college football, where the Buffaloes have holes to fill. The NFL draft is less than a week away, and the headliners include Colorado standouts Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. But what remains in Boulder is head coach Deion Sanders, who is back to work after a 9-4 record last season and a loss in the Alamo Bowl. Turn the page now to 2025 as Colorado's first spring game kicks off in a couple of hours. Matt Berry has taken his talents from Augusta to Boulder, where he joins us from the altitude ahead of the Buffalo spring game. And Berry, the obvious question here is, how does Colorado and Deion Sanders move on from two players that are going to be at the top of the NFL draft in a few days?
Yeah, well, you don't. I mean, you don't move on from two top 10 picks. We were spending time with them yesterday, and it's 4,200 yards from Shedeur. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks drafted, and then 1,200 yards receiving from Travis Hunter. And it's just hard to replicate and reproduce that production. And both of them are going to be in the NFL. They've taken this program to new heights. But, Shay, here's what I'll tell you. In terms of optimism for what they have coming in, they brought in Caden Salter, transfer from Liberty, played a lot of football. This true freshman kid, Juju Lewis, 5-star kid, flipped from USC to come play here with Pat Shermer in Colorado. They love the future of where this kid could be as an all-time quarterback. But in terms of right here, right now, you're losing a lot of offense. 3,300 yards from receivers, gone. 4,200 yards from Shedeur, gone. And so I'd say right now you're not looking to replace those guys, at least in year one, but you're going to have to build some stepping stones to get this place back to a 9-win team.
It's two players, but essentially three positions, which is a really odd thing to be in. Expectations now for Coach Prime in year 3, what are they?
I'd say if you look across the country, Shane, every college coach and every college program in the country, to me, the biggest storyline is here in Boulder, Colorado, for one simple reason. This is the first time Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has been ahead.